All right, very good. It's 7 o'clock. We'll get started. This is the October meeting for the Arlington Board of Education, our regular meeting. Tonight's meeting will be held in compliance with the Nebraska Open Meetings Act, a copy of which is posted right there in the back of the room. Let's call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock and take roll, please.
Jason Arp.
Here.
Cassie Plessner.
Here.
Jason Craddock.
Here.
Brian Locker.
Here.
Matt O'Daniel.
Here.
Shannon Wilmot.
Here.
All right, very good. Let's say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As always, the first item on tonight's agenda is the approval of the regular meeting agenda. We have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the regular meeting agenda as presented.
Second. Okay, thank you, Chase and Jason. It's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? Let's vote, please.
Matt O'Daniel.
Yes.
Shannon Wilmot. Jason Arp.
Yes.
Cassie Plessner.
Yes.
Jason Craddock.
Yes.
Brian Locker.
Yes. All right, very good. Motion carries. The second item on our agenda is welcome to our guest public forum. Is there anybody here that wishes to speak this evening? No?
Nothing, Lisa?
Not yet? Okay, fair enough. We'll move on to the consent agenda. We have last month's minutes and the financial reports. Dr. Lewis or any of the board members or anything in the financial reports that you want to pull out and discuss?
There are a couple, you saw 2D and B for HVAC. I wanted to just mention that was for $11,000. That was multiple bills that have been accumulating for a couple of months. I just had a bill. So what that was is one bill probably received, had some labor on it for the two HVAC units that we were having difficulty with, and the rest were for parts for the other ones that Lawrence took care of the labor on himself. And then you'll notice that our electricity bill went up quite a bit. So, we're back in school. It's a full month with all of the classrooms running full electricity, lots of games in the evenings and things like that. So that's just a little bit of a jump from the $8,000 or $9,000 I saw over the summer. Anything else that anybody has any particular questions?
I just want to, there is an EECS office. I didn't notice it until today. That one can be taken off of there because they don't typically send us invoices, and they sent us an invoice. So I think somebody in their office, so I just realized it today, like, wait a minute. So I already paid what they should send us a bill for, so that one will leave. So
That will probably be voided.
Yes.
Dr. Lewis, do we have any other outstanding HVAC bills from 6?
No, I don't believe that there's anything outstanding on HVAC. There will be, we are going to contract with them to do remote troubleshooting, which will be $2,600 annually, but they will go through all of we've got 63 rooftop units, so then we'll go through all of them remotely twice a year and be able to give us a report on what they anticipate might go wrong before it does, which they have not done in the past because it is an additional service. But given the trouble that it could have saved us this year when school started again, and all of a sudden, 7 or 8 quit working and we turn them on, it seems like money well spent. So that's basically $1,300 in the winter, $1,300 in the summer, and they'll start looking this time of year for so to make sure they're ready for winter, and then in the spring they'll be looking to make sure that they're going to run properly in the summer. But that will be separate from this. I don't believe that there's anything unbilled yet because they've been working now. There is the microchip that we talked about. Last month, I think we talked about that already. That was on back order till November, and that was for the gym unit. But right now it's functioning okay for this time of year at kind of half capacity, we would consider. So that'll be something different from a different company that did not come from DB.
Okay.
So. With all the added expenses for the HVAC and all that stuff, how does that affect the budget? Whereas, I mean, obviously these are additions to what we've had in the past. So that's in the line item for repairs and facilities. So sometimes you spend all of that and sometimes you don't. Last year, we didn't spend all of that. This year, we having, a bit of an anomaly, but it's budgeted for so that's in the line item where we've got approximately like 180,000 budgeted, if that's the number that I have correctly in my head. It can come out of there, but then there's also a lot of just for repairs and things like that too. So it's in there. It's not specific to like, you can't budget to have, we know we're gonna have these repairs coming up. If you know that they're coming, you can build them in, but these are for the unknowns. So that's just the line item that you have built into there for when these things happen. And I'm comfortable that that's not going to go over the edge with us.
Jen, did you have those percentage reports?
No, because the budget is not in the system yet, so it won't show me any percentages until we get the audit and all that.
Got it.
So probably won't be able to have one until November.
I would say November, yeah, the AFR and the audit, those are all done in due November, or like October 31st and November 1st. So then after that, we can upload the budget that you approved.
Do we have a year-end one too?
That will be with the audit.
With the
Both
Like
of
the
them
final
will be?
one, yeah,
Okay.
that will be the final one. We'll have that AFR by the next board meeting.
So, just refresh my memory here with the audit. Normally that is presented to the board. Is that in November?
It's usually November or December,
Okay.
depends, because she won't have the bound ones. The AFR will be ready,
Mm-hmm.
but then the actual audit is due to the state at a different time. I would say the bound ones will probably come by December. That would go through, because that gets significantly a little different in the AFR. So.
Easy to keep track of all this.
No. And then you'll see we're finally getting some billings for the kitchen work that we had done too. So Faust Construction, that was the two different areas that Faust did, which was the tile work and fixing that drainage in the kitchen, and then the dry storage. So that would be both of those estimates combined, and he came in, it was like $8,000 or $9,000 below the exact. I had that exact number written down in my office, but he was well under budget on that. We have not gotten billed for the cabinets yet, the upgrades in the bathroom. So we're waiting on that, but that's a hot lunch one. So we're still working on completing those reserves to the level that the state wants us to have them at.
Okay. Any other questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Thank you, Jason, Cassie. Is there any more discussion? Let's vote, please.
Shannon Wilmer.
Yes.
Jason Arp.
Yes.
Cassie Posner.
Yes.
Chase Creditor.
Yes.
Brian Locker.
Yes.
Matt O'Donnell.
Yes. All right, very good. Motion carries. That takes us down into our curriculum reports. We have our awesome counselors here this trip around. Thanks for being here tonight. I know how exciting it gets. Just try to calm down. Appreciate you being here. The floor is yours for your presentation.
So I think you know everybody, right? So Mrs. Fetty and Mrs. Hall.
Okay.
We'll just introduce in case there's board members who have not met you guys yet. Perfect. And people viewing at home.
Oh, perfect.
Just so
I'm
you know.
so excited. So excited.
It's like next to the Super Bowl viewership.
Yeah, big numbers.
Okay. So, just to introduce ourselves, Mrs. Betty does K through 6, and I have 7th through 12th grade for school counseling.
Sure. Here, what we do. I don't know if you want me to just say it. I feel like we're really, really busy ladies running around, meeting with kids. I'm in the elementary side. I'm in every classroom every week, which is such an honor, and so excited to be working with all students every week. I feel like they know me, so then they want to come in and see me, which is awesome. Definitely doing some responsive services as well. So when a kiddo is having a rough day, something didn't go quite their way, or they're dealing with big feelings, they come in and see both of us. I know we both got to do some responsive services today as well.
Individual student planning, that probably happens more on my end than it does on your end. That is scheduling, college planning, career planning, all those type of things fall into that category. And then indirect services is kind of the lump sum of everything else that we do. That's anything supporting staff, supporting family, making referrals to different community resources, that all falls under that indirect services category. Kind of also in our world is the school mental health services. Between Liz and I, we kind of coordinate the different services that we have at school. So we have two different therapy services that are available for our students at school. The first is our Systems of Care grant therapist. So this is our grant-funded therapist that's administered through ESU 3. Our therapist, Sarah Hamilton, is here 2 days a week, and she provides direct therapy services for students as well as system support for family and staff.
Well, we just worked on this one today, so this is fresh in my mind. We have several students that are fortunate enough to be able to go to therapy here, and I found out we'll be once a week for a while, so that's wonderful. And we're already full. We've got so many kiddos. We are jam-packed. But I'm so thankful for the opportunity for kiddos to meet with a counselor from Arbor Family. Just makes it so much easier for a lot of families that it's done here during the school day.
You kind of touched on this.
Oh, I'm like, okay, so counseling for me. Oh yeah, there we go. I was like, perfect. Classroom lessons, I already said that. I'm so sorry, I'm just repeating myself. I do meet with several students. It is recommended through my training, if I meet with any student for more than 6 weeks, that we would refer to some more intensive therapy services. But I do meet with several kiddos once a week. Just getting ready to roll with some small groups. Last year I did some relational aggression groups for 5th and 6th grade boys and girls. Also some more social skills types groups, kids that are trying to work on friendships and how to interact appropriately. I do that more with the little ones. Clearly always talking to families. Unfortunately, we've had a lot of families go through major loss since I've been back as your school counselor. So working with families is key. So I know lots of families really, really well, and being able to support the right way and get them to the right people. And I also serve as the 504 coordinator for the elementary side. Oh, there's
You already said this.
Yep.
yeah, so you can skip through it. There it is.
Yeah,
There you
scroll a
go,
little
Tom.
further.
Perfect.
Okay, so then there's my end, the middle school and high school counseling. I also teach classroom lessons. I'm not in a regular schedule part of the middle school or high school, but I get into classrooms when I can. So last week I was in with all the 7th and 8th graders, and we were discussing self-care from personal hygiene all the way to mental health. I do a lot of short-term individual counseling sessions, check in with the students, kind of support them as they need. Again, consultation with families and staff, community resources referral, 504 coordinating, which is getting to be a bigger part of our jobs as 504 laws change, things like that. And then I am also in charge of the ACT and pre-ACT testing for sophomores and juniors. Just kind of some examples of things that have happened so far already this year that are kind of big things on my schedule. I work with Shelley Miller on all of the scheduling for 7th through 12th grade, so that is a mostly spring semester, but as the school year starts, we work on that. I coordinate with our Metro rep for all of our dual enrollment and Kickstart classes, getting kids registered for those. I've done one-on-one meetings with all the seniors, looking at graduation plans, post-secondary plans, things like that. We took all of our juniors to a college and career fair in Fremont a few weeks ago. We had the ASVAB, which is military placement testing. We had 5 students participate in that. And then today we had Apply to College Day for all the seniors. So we knocked out lots of college applications. I haven't counted them all up yet, but several college applications today, so it was a good day. And just kind of upcoming other big things on our radar, PSAT testing for sophomores and juniors, that's an optional test, will be in October. After the FAFSA, the better FAFSA is released in December, we'll have a FAFSA night for parents. Again, scheduling will be a big part. Pre-ACT and ACT testing will happen in March and April. I work on all scholarships for the seniors, and then I also both of us help with the multi-tiered systems of support process.
What's the 504 coordinating?
Yes.
Okay. Think I know what that is.
So 504 is for the students that need accommodations of some kind in the classroom. A lot of 504s are medical related, but not all of them. So you could have a 504 for a medical diagnosis of any kind. The laws are moving towards any student that currently has a health plan needs to at least be offered a 504 plan. That doesn't mean those families have to say, yes, we're gonna go the 504 route, but that's kind of the pipeline things are shifting to. So we could have 504s, some students on 504s maybe were evaluated for special education but didn't qualify, but they still have a diagnosis that they need some supports. So we can provide supports to them that way. We have some that are medical, like they need access to a private restroom or need to be able to have water with them. We allow our students to do those things, but when it comes to things like standardized testing like the ACT, we have to have those accommodations documented so they can receive those for those things.
Sometimes I see a 504 for a serious medical condition too that makes it prohibitive for them to be in school, and so it helps to avoid excessive absenteeism reporting and things like that. Okay. It gives them the ability to like keep up your work, do your work at home, come half days, things like that. Sometimes a child who's really sick or experiencing some
I think I have around 10 students on 504 plans from middle school to high school, or something like that.
Jackie, where are we at? You just went to the Spring Valley Conference. Is that going to?
I just went to a regional meeting, but yes, the shift, we're waiting on federal guidance, but the shift will be to move to offer 504 plans to any student with any kind of medical diagnosis, so any kid with asthma, peanut allergy, anything, from epilepsy and things like that. So currently, the reason they're 504 coordinators is because there's been a line drawn in the sand between 504 and IDEA, which is special education. And so they're not supposed to be housed in the same, under the same umbrella. The shift now is towards, it's actually in our system under the same categorization. And so there may be some more legislative requirements for us, when that happens, because we were told it's coming in October, we just don't know when. It's like a surprise. It just keeps on giving. Currently, the guidance that we're being given is that there will be a requirement of us to offer to those families. They can decline or they can accept. And then there's a pretty decent amount of paperwork that goes into each one of those. And it becomes more, like IDEA is very law-based. There's like legal ramifications if you aren't following the plans, and that will be where 504s will be heading to. There's some general consensus that it's a better situation because it's been very gray for a long time in the 504 world, and so they're trying to shore it up to make it a little more black and white. This is legal, this is not legal. It will place a little bit more of a burden on the districts, all districts. We kind of figured, I think there's a potential for us, students that would qualify for a health plan that do not currently have an IEP is about 100 students, just shy of 100 students. If say half of them pick that up, that's 50 kids, 50 paperwork, 50 meetings, 50.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you have to review a 504 annually.
Correct. And then there's the question of, will that then become, if it's going under the umbrella of IDEA and special education, will the person overseeing those files need to be special education certified? What does that look like?
Yeah.
So there's lots of
So
who
stay
knows?
tuned. Stay
Yes,
tuned.
so stay tuned. So right now,
I was like, oh.
we're doing what we need to do, and we'll just kind of keep going.
We'll keep you abreast of the changes as they.
And both
as
the
they
law
make
firms we
sense
work
to us.
with have said, once they get federal guidance, they will provide us with, avenues in which to, how do we contact families? What does that look like? Can it be a letter? Does it need to be a phone call? What is this all gonna look like? So once we get the federal government to, which they said October, which could mean January, because we just don't know what that's gonna be. So we're just waiting on bated breath to see what the next step's gonna be.
Thanks, all right.
No.
It's a
It's
good thing
honestly
you
a
have
good
somebody that always has a positive attitude.
Yeah, and it's a
Because-
conversation that we need to have.
Yeah.
So.
It's a great opportunity for us to provide services to kids who maybe have needed them and not received them. So that's the angle that I'm going at, so that I get up every morning with a smile on my face now. That's awesome. But yeah, so it's a great question though. You want to know more? I've got more opinions later.
So,
Any other questions?
yeah,
I'll let Jackie
You should have ducked out when you had a chance.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think everyone in this room is aware of the, just the alarming increases that the adolescents and teens deal with, depression, anxiety, and all these things and all that it leads to. So my question is, are we doing enough? Do we have enough resources in our counseling program? And what are we doing and what can we do to be proactive with it rather than reactive? And I'm sure there's a lot that you guys are doing to be proactive to help our kids in the community out. I'm just curious about some of those stories.
The ASCA, which is the National School Counseling Organization, their suggested caseload for a school counselor is one counselor for every 250 students. So we're a bit above that. So that sometimes makes it challenging, that there are days when we have a list of kids that want to see us and we can't get through that whole list. I would say I don't experience that as much as you do, just because you're in the classrooms, and that, a good chunk of your day is spent in the classrooms, whereas I'm not in the classroom, so I have more availability for students.
Yeah, I would say that being in the classroom is so important, but it's really hard. I go home struggling a lot with that, just because my heart is so full. And I want to be there more for kids. I think we're doing the best that we can with the time that we've got, if that makes sense.
I know it's a lot, yeah.
Yeah, like there's a lot of kids hurting, the world is hurting. So, a lot of families are hurting. So I'm sorry, I get emotional. I love my job. This is what I was meant to do. So I am so thankful for it. There's a lot of kids that are going through a lot of big stuff. And so being in the classroom is great because we can talk about putting the phones away, and we can talk about strategies to deal with stress, and we can practice all those things. But there isn't a lot of time for them to meet with Mrs. Study. Like they come and they're like, I want to see you, and I've been waiting a week. Like, so it hurts my heart because I know that they want to get in there.
Mhm.
It's a hard balance of trying
We're
to.
trying to, I mean, that's, with our family counseling is kind of a supplement and meant to fill, to
Yeah,
be a resource for these kids
Yeah.
and families as well. I know that, we see the utilization report of that, and it gets used a lot.
yeah. We were working on the
A lot
schedule
is
today.
Loose term, but yeah.
Our Arbor therapist starts on Wednesday, so she'll be here for 3 hours a week, and we have half-hour time slots, and we have all 6 slots filled for next Wednesday, and we have 4 for the following Wednesday already filled, just with kids that have been waiting to see an Arbor therapist since the beginning of the year. And there was some delay with getting that started because the therapist we were going to have had a family issue come up, so she had to back out. So then Arbor, it took a few weeks for Arbor to then get someone new to fill that position. So it is.
And one thing to keep in mind too, guidance counselors are trained as school counselors, not necessarily licensed mental health professionals. So they have these hearts that want to reach out and help, but they don't always have the skills and strategies had they gone for a licensed mental health professional. professional. So it's great to have those different layers. And these ladies do a great job referring the
Yeah.
kids when they know their limits and like, you need something more than what I can offer you. And they both do a wonderful job doing that. Another thing I just wanted to bring up too is that as far as like everything we do is guided by Rule 10, right? So we have the amount of guidance counselors that we need for Rule 10, but that is an old document. They haven't revised what you need for like guidance counselors and things like that in Rule 10 for many, many years. And I will tell you the mental health concerns that we have for students have skyrocketed since the last time they looked at what the requirements were for guidance counselors and what they should be doing in class for Rule 10. So I do believe the ND is about to undergo a revision of Rule 10, which they haven't done that. So I don't know if that will come up in there as part of that, but I do know things.
Yeah.
That hasn't changed in Rule 10 for a long time, but people have in society.
Right.
So anyway, these women are wonderful.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
building relationships with kids and building relationships with staff.
Well, I think I can speak for both of us on this, is we are so thankful that all of our administration stands behind what we do and supports what we do. That goes a long way, knowing that they see the importance of our jobs and they support us when we're in the thick of it some days, and some days we need to come into their office and just bawl and let it go, and okay, now I'm ready to move on. But they all support that, and that is really huge, so kudos to all of them.
Mrs. Toff,
Yeah.
and things change with the new FAFSA legislation as far as what you were doing.
It's gonna change next year,
Yep.
yes. Yeah, it's making me stress out a little bit because it's a change to the detriment of farmers and small business owners, while at the same time saying, and by the way, we're gonna make your schools have everybody fill this form out.
And you hit the nail on the head on the farmer and ag community. There may be people that aren't aware of that provision there. Do you want to kind of talk about that? Because I think it's good to.
Yeah, so the air quotes, better FAFSA, as they are calling it, has changed what is included as your income and assets. The previous FAFSA, small business assets and farm assets could all be written off. They weren't included as part of your income in the FAFSA. That is changing with the better FAFSA. That will no longer be excluded. So now all small business owners and farmers will have to claim assets as part of their income on the FAFSA. So the process itself has streamlined, but what is and isn't claimed, some of that has changed, which will affect a lot of our families, unfortunately. So.
Thank you.
Good point. Any other questions or comments? Thanks for everything you do, and thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can stay as long as you'd like. We'll be done about 9.
Or you can leave. No judgment.
We both got littles to get home.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, that's awesome. Brings us to our principal reports. Mr. Shada, do you want to pinch hit for Mr. Kingston? I would right quick.
He does that for you once in a while, so.
Yeah, this is kind of odd. I looked over there and I thought, I figured the jokes are coming, so I just been waiting. I'm just excited with, what is the word you use, bated breath? You know,
Yeah,
I'm
there you
excited
go,
for it. Well, I mean, nobody can beat Mr. Kingston, but I'll sure try. We do have parent teacher conferences coming up next week, which is, gosh, it's hard to believe how fast things. No kidding.
You know, so, always a good opportunity just to meet face to face with as many families as possible. Ours are kind of classic, and then Jackie has her own schedule, which I'm sure she'll talk about there. Plata College Day was today, so a lot of us, or almost all the staff had on there, where they got degrees from, which is just kind of a non-verbal places that we've done. And this is Top Shit, I did a fun bingo thing where we all filled out a survey and they combined just random things about you, you know what I mean, was in a fraternity or worked here or did these things. And so that was kind of a good opportunity to talk to seniors about different things that you were involved in. The food drive is coming up. I think after they talked to people and they're throwing pies at people, some of us, if they have the big winners. So we've that's a part of being a team player around here. You can take pies. Jackie does it 3 times a year usually with whatever fundraiser they're doing, so we'll take a turn. And then FFA, you see some of the fun things they've been doing, and they're going to, like, land judging is this week too, which I always have to ask. I know a lot of you guys are more adept at that, and those are some neat things that they're a part of. And then we got to see, Mr. Daigle took some guys to Valley Corps, and he says a great hands-on experience. What's neat about that is they just get to jump right into some of this equipment and get going at different things. And some students have had chances to work with equipment like this and have some new skills, and some of them have been wanting to. And then the last part is jazz on the green, excuse me, games on the green. I think this is year 2 with Bennington in Mrs. Smith's class. It made the news last year. I guess I don't know if it did again this year.
Yeah, it was in the paper.
Was it? Yeah, it's a super fun thing with students with special needs. They just get to go have fun and interact, and you can see our fun friends there. And so it just, Mrs. Smith and Mrs. Krause do a great job with those kids, and so just a good opportunity. So, questions on Mr. Finstein's report?
No? You want to roll into the report then?
Yeah, all right. October we always do a peak out, so there's 2 big games there. The 17th volleyball will be also senior night, and Friday night, this Friday, peak out, and then senior night as well. And then this is something we need to highlight, Believers and Achievers, which is a certificate or award through the NSA. This is, every school gets to select 3, and Mrs. Toff and I go through this. Students submit an essay and talk about their experiences and what they've learned through activities and their involvement. And so kind of how we narrow it down, which is really, really hard, is somebody put the criteria based on grades. And then we start to look at who's involved in a cross section of a lot of things. And so picking 3, I mean, we could pick 12 guys. It's really, really, really hard. And so Mrs. Toff kind of gets there, and then her and I have a conversation about the final couple. And so, though we have 3 winners, Brooke Camp and Josh Hammery and Lizzie Meyer, there's probably 7, 8 more that would be right up there. So there's a fun picture with them. They get a certificate. Looks good opportunity for resume, things like that. There is not a cash reward to that one. You'll see these guys in the spring with honors night getting lots of money from colleges here real soon. So, but that's a fun thing, and we'll do a couple more different ones through the NSA about academics and activities. So congratulations to those 3.
Yeah, very neat.
Yeah.
Jackie? All right.
Mrs. Dr. Morgan, I'm sorry.
You're all good. I'm still Jackie. It's okay. We had a couple of outdoor ed experiences. 5th and 6th grade both went to outdoor ed. 6th grade goes to Camp Fontanelle. They do their gravestone rubbings. They did some archery this year, which was new and exciting. They learned about the history of the area. So good stuff there. 5th grade went out to DeSoto Bend and did some educational exploring out at the preserve, and some good stuff there. And we did have a fantastic bee sting come back from Fontanelle, but no bee stings from DeSoto Bend, which is where the bee stings were last year. So we're excited. We just pass it back and forth. So those 4 6th graders, last year when 5th graders, bee sting happening. Maybe they're following that group. So maybe we'll be past it. 1st grade, they traveled out to Balla's. They work on the life cycle of a pumpkin, so they get to do some fun stuff with that at Balla's, and then a fun day out there for them as well. Kickoff Fun Run started today, goal of $20,000. We are just over, I think, 6,500 already in donations in a kickoff today. So students found out today that if we meet our goal of $20,000, we are going to go bowling. We arranged it with the Fremont 30 bowl to take kids out there and go bowling, which is fun, and lots of them. I was funny how many kids were like, I've never been bowling. I'm like, what? So I'm excited we can provide that experience to children as well. So that'll be exciting. Lots of fun stuff. They work on character development and character traits throughout that process too. And we do our fun run. If you want to come and watch, it's in the gym. We turn off the lights. We have glow ropes. It's a ton of fun. There's music. It is on the 19th.
Very bright and very loud.
It is very bright and very loud. And we run each group at a time, and I run with all groups. So I am exhausted. You saw me when I came from setting up volleyball nets, you can only imagine what that night looks like. So, very exciting if you wanna come out and watch, it's good stuff. And you don't have to get pledges in order to participate in the fun run, that's for everybody. And we did, partner with PTO and do, first ever Eagle Classroom Pride Award. PTO purchased this lovely eagle that you see here. And then once, day a month, the PTO announces an Eagle Spirit Day, and then the class that has the most participation gets to keep the eagle for the next month in their room. We are in talks of an eagle naming contest, so we're gonna work on that and just that continuation of school pride and school spirit. So, did they? The kids have been talking about it, but we're working on it. We're working.
Unofficial names.
Unofficial names are out there. They're floating, but nothing official yet. I'll let you know as soon as that happens. I don't have anything to report for conferences yet, but I will have numbers when we're done.
98.
I'm going, yep, it's a goal. It's a
Always
goal.
in elementary, right?
Yes, yeah.
We do have high standards of getting all the parents in, whether they like it or not.
Good stuff. My parents are definitely not helping.
Thanks, guys, appreciate it. Dr. Lewis, you wanna walk through the superintendent's report for us, please?
The first item I have on there is our NASB and there's some member updates. The state education conference is coming up, so let me know if you'd like to attend that. That's primarily on this.
That is, what are those?
November 15th through the 17th. So the pre-conference will be the 15th, and then the 16th is the big day, and then there's Friday morning, which is the 17th, first meetings. So that's,
Send you guys an email to the board and then you can just respond back whether
Okay,
you're going or.
So really the day that we typically go is just that Thursday.
yeah,
right?
Thursday's got the most meetings, and it's got a couple of speakers, in the morning and at lunch. And then, a big lunch.
Okay.
Okay, and I'll let you go ahead and read the one on here. We've got updated enrollment totals. These came off of the October 1st snapshot, which is the date that they base pretty much everything on at the state level. So this is what becomes your official enrollment for the year. They also do a year end, but everything like financially is based next year on this October snapshot. So you can see where we were October snapshot last year, which was 691. But this year we're at 709. Now that's a little bit different than when we started at the beginning of the year. So kind of what happens is kids that you were anticipate coming that just haven't quite enrolled yet, kind of roll into that August 7th one there. Remember, school started actually on the 15th. And then a couple of families decided to homeschool. I think we had one move out of the district. So that's what those numbers fluctuate at. That's not abnormal from the start of the year to kind of roll down, and then numbers usually kind of gradually, if you look at the year, come back up. And so we were kind of at the high where we were last year in June. So if you look at that, 709 isn't a bad place to be at right now. So some of those numbers have changed a little bit since we talked about that in August. These are also the pretty solid ins and outs. We're still cleaning up a couple of options that deadline was last week, and some schools hit errors, so they give them until like October 15th to clear their errors. And so Mrs. Miller today, who has taken over the option enrollment paperwork, was working on getting a couple, so there might be just a couple students shift on that. Some that look like they're currently in district that should have option paperwork, and then vice versa, a couple of other ones like that too. And usually that happens when you get a kid who's been in the district and then they go live in their community, and they're tutor automatic ones or whatever, or someone who was an option student and now is living in the district, or they're going living where we're living with dad and they live with mom. So it's usually things like that, and so we have a couple of those. But our option total as of right here shows us at 139 in and 46 out. If you look at where we were last year, it was 148 in and 59 out, so the number actually stays pretty close to the same. This number will be what the basis for option enrollment funding is next year. So that's just kind of how that works.
Yeah.
So this is the number that they base that on for the for the coming years. That's going, I mean, it changes, but October 1st snapshot, when you hear us saying that, that's what a lot of things are based on. So, and this will be the number that's reported for enrollment, like with the NDE and things like that. So that looks like.
Our per student state aid is based
Yeah.
off this number as well.
Yep, so lots of different things, so. Any questions on that? Okay. First report on the Commissioner Superintendent Advisory Committee. So, we have a new commissioner, Dr. Brian Marr, who has been superintendent at a variety of schools in Nebraska, also in South Dakota, was the director of the Board of Regents in South Dakota for a while too, before he came back to us. So, getting to know him, but we've already kind of known him in the States. He was a well-respected superintendent when he was here. So in his first year here, he established what is the Superintendent Advisory Committee, selected 32 superintendents and ESU directors. I think it's 29 superintendents and 3 ESU directors across the state to be on his first advisory committee for this first year. And it sounds like that's going to be like he'll rotate. So I think his goal is in like 5 years that every superintendent will have had some opportunity to serve. Now, the advisory committee has been a thing before. It just never really materialized into anything that was actually effectual. That didn't really do anything. I think it kind of happened during COVID, and the intent was that they were going to meet like this, but it never really materialized. So he's got the next meeting scheduled to be up against the State Education Conference, I believe the day before or on that Wednesday in Omaha before all the sessions get rolling and things like that. We talked about the assessment debacle is the only thing that I could call it last year, how NSCIS kind of fell apart. So he brought members of the staff. He was not here when that happened. You know, he took office in July. So he brought members of the staff to kind of explain in kind of normal terms what actually happened and how it was kind of the State Board of Education had approved what they were going to use, and then they got different information about what was scientifically accurate. So then they changed course, and then a different committee came in and looked at it, so they changed again. And so he's trying to reassure us that he's not going to allow that to happen again. Also, the other things that we talked about, absenteeism, different things related to school reporting. We have AQuest, which is like ratings based on your attendance and your rate of like how many students take your assessments and how many students do this and how many students do that. So it's like a big survey that we fill out, and some changes coming with AQuest, and our next list of topics as soon as we get that. I'll kind of let you know, but he intends for this to not be a secretive kind of committee. He wants us to report back to our boards that we talked about and what's happening with the NDE. He knew all of us by first name, first meeting. Yeah, he's doing a great job building relationships across the state. So very impressed with what I've seen so far. Some of you know him. He's a graduate of Logan View, I believe, and student taught in Arlington. So he's been in this area.
Principal or vice principal at Elkhorn too. I
Yeah,
don't remember when
vice
I was
principal
there.
at Elkhorn. Yep. So he's
Maybe
got
taught
roots
there
in this
also,
area. I think he did. Yeah, he's got roots in this area, and he had roots out west too. So he's a down to earth, a normal guy. So.
Now, is he on a term contract, or is he?
He is the guy, and when
Until-
he decides,
yeah.
until he decides he is no longer, or the State Board of
Yeah.
Education tells him that.
Good, so there's a chance for some
Some
consistency and some
Yeah.
continuity and some change.
I'm trying to remember how long, I mean, Dr. Blumstead was in there for probably 7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. And it's not an elected one, it's not an appointed one by the governor, so he's been hired by the State Board of Education. So, and he's working with them on goals that they and he have for the Department of Education. He's talking with them about the things that are important to schools and people that are practitioners, like getting back to work in their new building, in the offices, and working on timelines and that. And there's just a lot of logical things
Yeah,
that he's working with these people on. So it's good.
good to hear.
Mhm.
6.4,
Yes.
so this is the time of year where we conduct the superintendent evaluation. Cassie and Brian, I don't think you guys participated last year. No, you wouldn't have.
Cassie might.
I
Cassie
was
did.
Yeah.
in on that vote, but
Okay.
didn't because I wasn't in on the evaluation.
Okay.
So,
So we're gonna use NASB's tool, just like we have for the last 2 years. They've given me a timeline, I should put this in email and forward it to all the board members, but Dr. Lewis will get her self-evaluation November 3rd. She'll have the 9th to complete it. And then on the 11th, they'll send the results of the self-evaluation out to the board. And then on the 13th, we'll all get sent to our @APSEagles.org account, the superintendent evaluation. We'll have till the 22nd to send it back, and then when it's completed and compiled, they'll send it to me and I'll share it with the board. So I'll put this in an email and send it out to everybody. But and then in December, we'll have our superintendent evaluation, just like we always do. So, did I hit on everything there?
I think so, yeah, I think that's everything. There is a potential for an add-on to that if you want to use the evaluation to build. I think she was talking about building specific goals. I think we've got a great set of board goals.
Mhm.
If what we need to talk about with me does not line up with those, that might make sense, but most of the time, anything that we need to work on, that we need to discuss falls within those board goals, so I don't know necessarily that is Matt, we can talk about that if we wanted to.
Yeah, so if through the course of the evaluation, if we wanted to add any specific goals for our superintendent that we would revisit a year later, the next evaluation, we could add those on. If the board thinks that's necessary at the time. That's how I interpreted her email.
Right.
Did you interpret it? the same?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think if you want assistance with those or something like that, it was, like, they'll come in.
And ASB can run with that, yeah. And then so time flies, right? So shortly after that, we will roll into our retreat in February, and
In our community engagement meeting.
in January.
Just gonna say that.
Yeah.
If we were
Mhm.
still,
Mhm.
that's still planning on the last Monday of January, right?
Yeah, that's
I
kind of
think
what we
so.
Yeah, I
discussed,
think that's
yeah.
what we tagged on the calendar back.
fishing versus fishing.
I feel like we're
Basketball
jumping
game,
around,
we're in.
but
You said the last Monday of January?
yeah.
Yeah.
Can we put that on next month's agenda as a
Yes.
discussion item, please?
Absolutely.
I may be at a place here. Placeholder.
Please do.
The last Monday is
We
the
could always take it.
29th, right?
As of right now, I don't have any basketball games, but I don't think I have.
I think that's
There's
why
nothing on
we
the calendar
chose
right now,
that.
so
Yeah.
I think we could try and lock that
Yeah, it's
in.
open again.
Sweet.
So we'll try and avoid that for scheduling and things. Any thoughts?
All right, so be on the lookout for an email from me with those dates and timelines. We've got committee reports. I think American Civics Committee met just before the board meetings. Anybody who wants to report on that?
Shannon, technically, I think you're our chair.
I think so, but I probably Jackie's better to.
Yeah,
report on it.
we tag teamed that. So, I mean, yeah, we talked about, there were 2 items on the agenda. The elementary math pilot at that level, and we'll throw another one in and have Mr. Kingston talk about secondary later. And then Americanism things, so.
Yeah, we just talked about, what teachers were thinking of the new curriculum. We've been using Envisions for the last 7 years. They'll be piloting the new version of Envisions, which is basically the old version of Envisions, just with a new online platform. And the online platform has been kind of the, area of contention for most teachers. It just hasn't been user friendly. So, we'll see, how that has been updated when they get ready to pilot that portion. The, product we're currently, piloting, teachers, the general consensus, now not everybody, but I would say general consensus is it doesn't necessarily embody the depth and rigor that we currently have in Envisions. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at with that. We had a little bit of a discussion about K-6 is what the elementary setup is, but curriculums are currently being written K-5 and 6-8. So as we get closer to what the district wants to do, we'll need to have intentional conversations about how do we want that to look in terms of the order of events of of the curriculum. K-5 is important. I think in just my general view is 6-8 should look similar because we don't want to miss concepts as we're getting ready to move them into middle school. And the curriculum is currently being written to that model. So, but we'll have more intentional conversations once we get into those curriculums. Middle school and high school are currently working on getting set up to start there. Curriculum pilots. The elementary meets weekly during team time and talk about math curriculum and what it's looking like and where we're at in terms of standards and pacing and on being on track to meet everything we need to, what's missing in curriculum, so we can add if we need to. And then we talk, comparing what we have versus what we're currently piloting so that we can make the best decisions all the way around. That sum it up?
Yep, and Americanism.
And Americanism, we just talked about all the great things that we do to celebrate America. We say the pledge every day. We did Patriots Day. We read a thing for Patriots Day classroom. Elementary classrooms did activities, and we sang the national anthem on both sides. Did you guys play it? Band played it.
Sorry for it.
Patriots Day.
Yeah.
Band
Yeah.
played the national anthem. We just sang it loud and proud on the elementary
Yeah.
side. We're getting ready for Veterans Day. Yes, it's still working out those. Veterans Day, we were thinking it was on the 10th. I'm not 100% certain on that.
It's like the only one on Wednesday.
See, I thought there was a shifty shoe on that. I didn't know. That's a new term I just made
It's
up.
going to be on Wednesday.
Well, we are up at, like, not up at.
I thought we did
We
that
have
last year.
FBLA's going on the trip, and so in order to have
All the
Veterans
things
Day
we
and all the
need to
things that
participate.
those people do, we can't miss 30 kids, and so.
Yeah.
Here's what I said, Mr. Shada. I think we did that last year. I don't think we've talked about that this year.
See, and then I'm going, that's possible. I don't know. All the years are running into one.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, you're good.
So,
So we have
watch
Veterans
for
Day upcoming,
details on
so
that.
watch for
Yeah.
details on that.
I think the big takeaway for the committee was that to know that not only are they piloting, but they're checking in with teachers to know what's going on. What do you like about this program or what do you not like about this program? So it's a constant check-in, which is nice to know that the curriculum that we're looking into putting in the classroom, that they're talking about it beforehand, not just coming back later and saying, did you like it or not?
Yeah.
Like they're checking in weekly, which is great because that's how they're figuring out this is where there's gaps at. Jackie did a great job of telling us like it's not every curriculum, no matter where you get it from, has gaps. So it's more on the teachers to figure out where those gaps are and how they fill them. So it's nice to know that, but those committees and those teachers getting together every week is what fills, makes the programs work. So it's good. They're doing great.
And
And
our
if there was
teachers-
ever any question,
Yeah, our teachers know their business. They know their standards, they know what they need to be teaching, and they're hot on it, so. That's great.
Buildings and grounds.
So we met a couple weeks ago. One big item that we're going to be talking about will show up later.
Yeah.
The other item is on our meeting. I have to switch meetings to find that. We talked about the missing microchip from that we can't get till November on that HVAC unit. We talked about the potential of widening the door into storage with the boiler room that we demoed and taking out those overhang pipes so we can fit a lot more things in there than we can right now. That would really increase our usable storage on this level
Yeah.
on site, so that would make it super handy. So we're getting some estimates on widening that door. Got estimates today on some, like we didn't talk about playground much, but what else was on that?
Talked about
There's one other
a
thing.
couple of those big old rooftop units in the
Yeah.
backyard
Oh, right, right, right.
schedule that are pretty pricey that we
Yeah,
want.
so we've got three units yet that were not part of the HVAC project. And so those are about 10 years older than the others.
Those are over the newer.
They are over the new, the competition gym and the concession stand in the library. So I think those are the only three new, non-new
Mhm.
ones left on there. And Lawrence is getting us some cost estimates on, because we just know with the change of Freon and everything like that, that's going to be happening, that those units are probably, I mean,
Yeah,
we've
at
got
some
some
point,
life out of
they'll-
them, but they're 10 years older than the others, maybe,
at some point they'll fail and they'll be unrepairable and we'll be
yeah.
months away from.
So we want to start looking in advance far
Low
enough
there.
that, and those won't be cheap, those are some big ones, so.
Okay.
how old was when was the last update? The big update with all the HVAC, the ones that are now causing issues? When were those put
I
in?
think that was 2017.
I was gonna say
Just
5
before I
years,
was here.
So they're 5 years and we're
No,
having
seven.
issues.
six or seven. Yeah.
Because it was a couple years before I was here, because they were already paying for them when I started.
Well, when was the QC Puff?
I believe it was 2017.
Yeah.
And then we refinanced it.
So, yeah.
But yeah, and they would not necessarily say that they're failing, but certain parts, like when you buy a car, is kind of how it is equated to me, is that when you're running the motors 24/7, either to heat or to cool, eventually they're gonna wear out and they're gonna need. So the units themselves, we were on the struggle bus a little bit, some of that is the supply and demand. 2 of them we were having more trouble with than we should, and that was a programming issue. We couldn't get the new parts to program to the older units, but, so hopefully this $2,600 contract that we spoke about that we talked when we were talking about the bills, will be able to help troubleshoot that in advance. You can see those things when they're going, not as you fire them up or try and switch from AC to heat. And then you find out at that point in time, they should be able to tell those things far enough in advance that we can get parts more quickly. Because that was a part issue. Yeah. So, and then the other big thing we talked about was school boards, and that's a discussion item later on the agenda, so we'll just come to that.
Okay.
Negotiations is scheduled to meet first on October 30th. We are required to meet at least once before November 1st to get things off, and that's what worked for the teacher committee, or the AEA committee, I should say.
Yeah,
So that's that.
Yeah, typically the first meeting is a lot about building our calendar for the rest of the negotiating session. And we talk about structure and norms a little bit there too. It doesn't take very long, so. October 30th. Professional development sharing from the membership meeting in Fremont. Let's see, who, you and I and Chase and Cass, right, attended that, and some breakout sessions. A lot of information in there that the board's already heard about, different actions that were taken in Lincoln, different legislative bills that passed, but a little bit of a deeper dive into them, how they came to be, and maybe what's on the horizon for us. Really interesting stuff. I can tell you a lot, I can't remember a lot of details.
The general session we did.
It was
learn a lot
good, I
about-
remember that. Yeah.
We learned a lot about how Nebraska left their national organization, but there's other states that are leaving or joining these other organizations, and Nebraska is really kind of been like a solid,
Switzerland.
kind of a stable,
Yeah, a little bit.
like setting a good example of how to basically behave as a state organization.
We're just
is how it could be equated.
We're not in an organization.
We're
But we're not
We're
not
free
in an
agent.
organization.
We're
Yes,
free agent.
we totally are.
Waiting for the
So
best
we
NIL
talk to
deal.
everybody.
I think there's two.
Yeah. We were literally talk to everybody. We're not like in a group, but we're not in a group.
And
so
we're
we
still
talk to groups.
attending the national conferences and things like that, but we're not member organizations. We're still presenting even at some of those. for
Yeah.
being.
It's almost, I kind of got the feel that we were almost in a, like, getting into more of like a leadership role. Like the state is trying to, which they've got a lot of really smart people, so that's great. But
I think so, and then some of the software software companies that they've purchased over time that are now being used by school boards and school districts across the country.
It's a system we're
And
using
other
right here. It
organizations,
was born
yeah.
in Nebraska. It was
Yeah.
born, yeah.
So, they seem to be really proactive and
Right.
have their stuff together.
Yeah, they're a great team. Cass, you attended a session about Alley Cat that you thought
yes,
was really
I
great.
went to an insurance, it was literally an insurance rundown. It just was really talking about the importance of why they come through the schools and why they want schools to do different training modules and how schools can, why they group them so that you have lesser costs and stuff. So that was great. There were some really fun questions that were silly or whatever. They were entertaining for sure. But that's because I have an insurance background, so I knew what they were getting at.
Yeah.
So it was entertaining. I also went to one about teachers and like how to talk to your teachers and how to ask them. A lot of schools are using climate surveys, and everybody does them, or not everybody, but a lot of people do them very differently. A lot of schools that are using these climate surveys, whether it be just within their staff or within their entire community, are having great success with them. Maybe not the first time around, but definitely the second and third time around. So that was something that we talked about afterwards. I know John and I talked about it a little bit. I think it would be a really good thing for our board to look at, would be doing a climate survey, but it's definitely something that you have to ask the right questions. And then not only just ask the questions, but how are you going to act on them? Because that was the big takeaway out of that regular session, was not only do you ask the questions, but then how do you show your teachers and your community that you value that you didn't waste their time by completing the survey, that this is what you're gonna do based off of their answers. So it was great to have something that was, I think schools noticed when it was based by the board, they had a better reaction than if a committee or a group of teachers was sending out a survey. That didn't work. So it was good to have something organized by the board that there was going to then be a reaction to asking about this survey. So that was, the 2 sessions I went to were really good. They were interesting. And I think there's gonna be more at the state conference about those things too. So.
Didn't we do a climate survey?
We had a teacher committee do a culture survey,
Well-
but we survey regularly though. With our school improvement, I mean, the parents get surveyed, students get surveyed, teachers get surveyed, every couple of years, as far as that goes.
Yeah,
But
their
I don't
community
know.
engagement meeting is.
We
rushing
surveyed on
upon us.
topics, we surveyed them on topics that they wanted to know more about, but it wasn't really a climate.
It was really rushed too, because I think a lot of people had troubles finding it when we did that. There's a lot of people like, well, I saw that, but I didn't have time to do it that day. And then when I went back to do it, I couldn't find it. I'm
Yeah,
like,
and
well,
I
that's
think
because
we
it's
had it
closed.
open for like a week
So-
because we had
It was
to
just
get
a
ready for
limited
the
time.
meeting. Yeah.
So if that's on the agenda for November, hopefully we can get that kind of cleaned up and put a tip to the arrow, so to speak, and then get that survey out
Yeah.
sooner and maybe be a little more meaningful with
Topic
it.
survey, yeah.
Because that's definitely gets into our goal of community engagement too.
You bet. Mhm.
So,
Yeah.
What kind of timeframe? 2 weeks, 3 weeks beforehand?
Oh, I think, at least a couple of weeks, leave it open.
and I think part of that was not only just putting it out there, but then making sure that you push that it is out there. Not one time, but like repeated.
Sending reminders.
Yeah,
and-
so every day in the announcements, or every week, whenever that announcement goes out to parents, I don't know, I get stuff from the school all the time. But my husband
Free
apparently
bag
does
of
not,
popcorn.
so I,
Yeah.
shocker.
Or
Um,
bag of popcorn bags.
Yeah, so, yeah, put a QR code on the popcorn bag. But you know.
That's a good idea.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
That's a joke.
That's a
but
great
okay.
idea. Yeah. While they're in the gym.
Nice.
Maybe not.
Why is no one clapping? Because they're taking the survey.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know, just getting it out there.
Yeah.
A lot of marketing
That's
and
funny.
community engagement is getting it out there and
Right.
a lot, so. Trying to think new things is always interesting too, but I think
Well,
it's
yeah.
good that we're just trying something new, trying to get more
Sure.
opinions and.
Right.
Good. Gotta
You
start
always
somewhere.
learn, always learn. Okay, all right, we are down into new business. 8.1 is discuss, consider, and take necessary action to approve policy 5006 appendix 1 option capacities for the 24-25 school year.
Right. So,
And they are in here.
yeah, normally we're doing this in March, because that's when they had to be approved before, now they have to be posted. So, we're not, in a nutshell here, not proposing any changes to what was an approved capacity, in the past years. I may have stated this a little different, because this was a section size capacity for elementary. So the classes that have, like just 2 sections are going to be smaller than this one needs to be. Because there's only 2 sections here. This should not say 69. That should say. So I will correct that. Let's mark that off and we'll say as amended. Help me divide that out. 23 times 2 is 46. So that should say 46 for 5th grade. Caught that just now. Sorry. So this is a per section size and however many we have, and we only have 2 sections of this year's 5th grades So, sixth grader, this is projected, so our program capacity on that one should be 46 and not. So what we do, so what we do is we look at what we currently have enrolled, which way, we don't know on kindergarten yet, but we have 3 kindergarten teachers, so we're looking at our program capacity of 3 section sizes there of 18, et cetera. So that's how we kind of go through those. First grade, we're projecting the amount of kindergartens that we have this year. So that is just kind of rolling down like that. So that's where we came up with projected enrollment. Basically, what we have in our seats right now. Because it's too early to project what we're going to have next year because it's October. Normally, we're doing this in March and we have a little bit of a better idea, but it's really hard to do that right now. So we're sticking with what we currently have in desks. And then this is capacities. This has not changed for several years, 68 at high school, 58 at the junior high level. And then this is what our section size, classroom size policy states times the amount of sections that we currently have in that. And so we'll get this one adjusted and that should say 46 and 69. So, and again, this is not a change. The admin team agreed that these are numbers that we can work with. It's not going to overwhelm the teachers or anything like that, because this is what we have.
What was their purpose in having us do this in October versus March? I forgot.
That is a great question.
Yeah.
A group of senators decided that's what we should do, and that makes more sense. So, I will tell you too, the one thing that is different, about this, we used to have also sped capacities on here. We had level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4 at both elementary and secondary. They're not allowing us to do that anymore because they said all special education or all option applications that we receive for students that indicate that they have an IEP, we need to give case-by-case consideration. So, one more thing for the special education department, in addition to taking over 504s, now the special education director has to be the person who signs off if the application says that they have an IEP. And we already approved the special letter that gets sent if it's a denial. If it's an approval, it's a typical approval. But we also have to figure out how that's going to look. Do they have to send us what their goals are? Do they have to send us? They have not told us how to determine yet if we have the capacity to accommodate or if we have capacity to take on another IEP, because a lot of times that was based on, you might have an IEP, but you're RTIC only, so you're only seeing the speech pathologist once every 2 weeks or something like that. Yeah, you can handle that, but if they're in a severe profound classroom, that's significantly different. So they have not given us direction on that yet, but maybe they've given Dr. Morgan.
Well, just working with ESU and the State Department on this new update. We are working on, you will most likely, once we get official guidance from the state as a whole, you will most likely get what we will determine as capacity option numbers for special education. We use a weighted system to determine caseloads. And then based off of that, we'll be able to open or close the number of staff that we have on hand to educate special education students. So we still will be able to say, like, we don't have capacity for a high needs student here because our special education teacher that services those students is already at their set number of whatever that points that we will give them. So there will come something for you to look at. We just, as a state, we're not there yet. And so my assumption will be they will help us with that at the very last minute. No, I don't know when that will happen. But we're working through that, and then what letters will look like for what the parameters are and how we're making those.
Well, we know in the denial letter, it has to state what accommodation you cannot provide.
Correct.
It can't just be we're full. So
Right.
that means we have to get some information on what that
And my
IEP
understanding
contains.
is that having to increase staffing in order to serve a student's IEP needs would be a reason for denial. So if, say, there was a student who came who needed a full-time nurse or nurse's aide, we can say that we don't have the staffing currently to provide that accommodation or modification. So we would be able to then decline that. We can say that Based on our points, we don't have enough staffing, we would have to increase our staffing by 0.25 FTE or 0.5. And so that would be a reason for it, but we'd have to be able to prove that. And so we're working on what that language looks like, to be able to determine and then to prove and verify.
This is what we call the cart and the horse.
Yes, yes. And my fear with most things is we're gonna get the information like the day after we're supposed to have it. And so the ESU has been really proactive in trying to get sped directors together and say like, okay, let's get a plan together so when we get the go, that we'll be able to go. So we're currently working on those plans. So we're basically building the plane while we're flying it, and then we will find out later that we didn't install the engine properly because we're not aviators. So we'll get there, but it might just be a little bit of a trick to get there. It's just another opportunity for growth,
Right.
just another
Learning
opportunity.
Is that what that is?
That's what I
Okay.
tell myself every morning. No.
So, anybody have any questions or comments or thoughts regarding the capacities that we're going to approve?
By putting unknown on the projected, is that, I mean, is anybody gonna balk at that? Like, what, I mean, obviously, we don't know what it is, but
I'm gonna leave it on there and I mean, right now, we're assuming we're gonna need locally 3 sections, because we have for several years. So the only thing that would make that, like our program capacity, I mean, I don't think it's gonna be an issue. We know what our capacity is. And when it gets time for us to approve them, which happens in March, we'll know what we can actually approve. We'll be able to tell you at that point in time.
so this is really just more of an estimate that we're gonna changing it anyway.
Well, we're not gonna
Well-
change, projected enrollment won't change, capacity won't change. It's just that the numbers that we actually are basing what we can accept or what we can approve and deny might change a little bit, because again, that is just a projection. And we'll look at the actual enrollment, in March, I mean. And probably likely not in all of the grades, it's just gonna be that kindergarten, it's a big unknown, because, I mean, we know what we have in preschool, but we don't know, I mean, we kind of have an idea of what St. Paul's has in preschool, but we don't know the kids that are going to educational scores, or that are going to be coming in from other places, or that aren't going to come to school at all. We really won't know that until we start doing kindergarten roundup. So,
Real fun, very well.
but anyway, so really, what I'm here to say is we're not proposing changing any capacities. Projected enrollment is based on what we currently have sitting in our classrooms, and we'll get this posted as soon as you get it approved. We will make that one correction in 5th grade, that will say 46 instead of 69.
Okay. I'll make a motion to adopt policy 5006, resolution and appendix and set capacities as amended for the 2024-2025 school year. Does that work? That'll work. Okay.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Arp. Any more discussion? Seeing none, let's vote, please.
Jason Arp,
Yes.
Cassie Clausman,
Yes.
Chase Carter,
Yes.
Brian Locker,
Yes.
Matt Daniel.
Yes.
Jen Williams.
All right, very good. Motion carries. That brings us into the 7,000 policies. Sorry, we've got a lot of policies on this meeting. The good news is they're pretty short.
Mostly brief.
Yeah, pretty brief. Facilities planning, construction plans, bidding, contracts, change orders. I mean, we lived in these for a couple of years, just recently.
Right.
I scanned through them and I think we're practicing these, or we did practice
Yes.
these.
Mhm.
I really saw nothing that didn't come out
Right.
and be changed.
There's nothing that needs to come out and be changed, but I do want to draw your attention
Okay.
to one, because it's kind of impact, let me make sure I got the right one here. Maybe a discussion that we're having in an upcoming item here. So state statute, and I have a question actually to Bryce Wilson on
Where are
this
we?
one. So
750.
it's bids, so anything over $100,000 or sum as adjusted pursuant to 7306, I'll tell you about that in a second. will be bid in accordance with state statutes, which means it has to be duly advertised. So
Okay.
when we start talking about scoreboards, that's gonna come into play a little bit.
All right,
73-106 says, that was set at 100,000 in 2015, and it was supposed to be revised in 2020, but I do not see the revision anywhere. So I think that might be like 109,000 now, or like 119 or something. I know it's changed a little bit, but I'm looking for feedback on that. But again, this says 100,000, but pursuant to 73-106. So it might be a different number, and we would follow that number. That's the only thing that I just wanted to draw your attention to on that, but nothing else has changed otherwise. Any other questions on those?
no, okay, so then the second group of policies are the 8,000s and internal board policies. What our roles are, how we handle various different things, how committees function. What the expectations are for development, conflict of interest, that's always an important one. Code of ethics, et cetera, et cetera. Actually, if you didn't take the time to kind of go through these, I just read them while you guys were in your committee meeting. It's a good refresher on what our roles are as board members. It really is. I'm glad I went through them again, so. Just kind of reminds us why we're here and how we operate.
And there's one, also, this is the newest one in the section 8130. And draw your attention to, again, this was a new policy this year that we just adopted, so it's going to change, and I actually contacted Marcia Herring about this one today. It will change in January what we're doing a little bit, since this is based on state statute. She is recommending that we also elect a secretary and a treasurer of a board member. So what we have is an elected president and an elected vice president, appointing me as the recording secretary, and then Jen technically is the board treasurer. So Marcia is recommending highly that we, in January, then begin electing a secretary and a treasurer. Electing the treasurer is going to mean some changes with the bank, we're probably going to reduce signature cards, because the treasurer will also be a signer.
Authorized signers.
Yeah, so we're gonna need to do that, but I just double checked with her on that, so that will kind of change in our organizational meeting in January when we re-elect officers. That will just look a little bit different this year.
Can you make the president the treasurer, since the president already
I
has?
think they need to be different people. I don't know if you can be the
No,
president
then that
and
way,
the
because
secretary.
Jason like Matthews,
I can sign.
well, then you can just vote. Not to push more work on you, but I'm just
Great
saying.
idea. No. I think they should be separate, yeah, because.
It's all about that
Yeah.
separation of duties.
Right.
It's all about,
They wanna
Having
create
us,
more people to check more people.
it's all about having more.
Okay.
More eyes on this, so.
All right,
Just
thank
wanted to pull
you.
that one out, yep.
Any other comments on these policies? Most exciting part of our job.
They are good ones, so.
Okay, so that takes us to, item 8.4. We're gonna talk about the village pick 'em up truck, with the
Do we have
snow.
to vote on these other things?
They're just reviews.
No, okay, we're
Yeah,
still-
we're not
okay.
changing anything. I pulled out a
Okay.
couple to like point out things, but
Got
we're not changing anything. so.
Proceed.
Okay,
I will change the last review date on them. That's what will change.
thanks, Cass.
Yeah.
I was
I will.
asking questions, sorry, keep going.
Secretary already put in for it.
Right, yeah. Aye, aye. So I think we've talked about this. The village had their snowplow truck. It went up for sealed bid. Talked to Dawn, kind of having an idea what that was worth and knowing what their minimum bid was. I went up and put a bid in on it for $10,053 and we won. The intent was if this board, because obviously that's beyond our superintendent's ability to purchase without board action. So my intent was if this board or the district didn't want to approve it, I would buy it myself, use it as a plow truck, okay? But it's down there, they're holding it for us. If we approve this tonight, the district will write a check to the village and go down and pick it up. So, I would just say that given the plow and the equipment on the front of it, this is a pretty good deal, and I know we actually had snow equipment in our budget for a lot more than this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so. We'll keep the old one,
Okay,
and so we'll have 2 running. So we can be more efficient with that. Lawrence has been talking to a couple people that will help with that. And so we need that done more quickly, so we can just be more efficient with our time and do more appropriate.
questions or,
This truck is about 10 to 15 years older than, or newer.
yeah,
excuse
than
me,
the one we have.
Newer than the one we have, and it's got quite a few.
That's
quite
got
a
like
bit fewer
50-some
miles.
thousand miles on
It's
it.
got
It's got a
about
good V
55.
plow on the front of it.
Yeah, and it has new batteries and things like that. It just
Yeah.
changed when the tires look good.
So these, just the plows in the front are really expensive to buy and install. And it's a good enough value. If you guys don't want it, I'm gonna buy it, so. Vote however you'd like. I win either way, I guess. But seriously, it was in our budget to buy a new one. This is a great alternative, I think, so. Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to purchase pickup with snowplow from the village of Arlington for $10,053.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Chase and Brian. Been moved and seconded. Is there any more discussion? Let's vote, please.
Cassie Plasma,
Yes.
Jason Cardinal,
Yes.
Brian Locker,
Yes.
Matt O'Daniel.
Yes.
Shannon Woolman, Jason O.
Yes.
All right, very good. Motion carries. Sure you guys let the village know tomorrow morning.
We'll get a check.
Because you never know. I heard tales of snow real soon.
That is a bad word.
That's in western Nebraska.
They can keep it.
Yeah.
Panhandle.
All right, so 8.5 is our discussion of the digital video scoreboards for the competition gym.
This has been, one of the buildings
Came
and
out of
grounds
Buildings and Grounds.
committee. We've had lots of conversations. Over the past couple weeks with the buildings and grounds committee members and things like that. This began with a initiative from a buildings and grounds committee member, like, let's talk about scoreboards.
Yeah.
What, bring us information, tell us what we need to know about those. So that's kind of where this came from. Mr. Shada is bringing around packets for you that have more information than what I have up here. The picture that I put up here is a mock-up of what one would look like in our gym. So we just put a few slides up here so people who might be watching on Strive can kind of see the vision. Thank you, Mr. Shada.
So if I may, Dawn,
Sure.
Jason, please jump in here if I have any of this information incorrect. Yeah, this is something that's been tossed around for a while, and I know that Mr. Shada went out and got the bids for these. It's obviously a lot of money. When I first saw it, it kind of threw me back. And then the Buildings and Grounds considered it and really hit the ground running on going around and approaching some businesses that we do business with, some local businesses, with the intent of if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do it with money that's been raised outside of our budget, with sponsors on the scoreboard. I think we'll have potentially some anonymous donations, different things where over a course of time, through raising those funds, we'll pay for these boards. 100% with donations where none of this falls within our budget, affects our tax asking or our levy. Jason has been really active in making phone calls and trying to get a feel of where we stand with some of our bigger local businesses and how much they'd be willing to help us with it. I've made a few phone calls. And I can't speak for Jason, but I've been really pleasantly surprised how open people are to helping us with this. I've got an appointment tomorrow with somebody that might be a major donor towards this. It's working. People are interested in helping. It's great to see. Jason, you've been working on this harder than I have, so I'll let you bring the board up to speed with,
Just say ditto to everything you said.
yeah,
I mean, a lot of people at first, well, they just need time to think about it. And I want to see it, sooner rather than later.
right?
Be nice to have something on still this winter. Definitely, before graduation, if we could get that done so everybody can see the seniors roll across on the screen instead of the old,
Projector, yeah.
drag it up.
Although you do a nice job moving that projector screen on the stage at the appropriate time. I so want to
So can you bring the board up to speed, Dawn, from how this might function from I hesitate to call it financing side,
but it.
but the mechanics of how we're gonna pay for this now
Right.
and receive money from sponsors over the course of a few years, maybe.
So, I talked with Bryce Wilson from the Department of Education, who runs the finance office there, about how schools do these projects and where you can deposit funds that come in as donations and where you pay for those from and things like that. And because my thought was, anything we do within the general fund or within even depreciation is going to do a couple of different things. It's going to impact our necessary cash reserve because depreciation is part of that. And it may potentially overspend part of the budget that we didn't budget for, which means that you have to republish your budget and you have to advertise and basically say that we're planning to spend more, but we're also going to have more in receipts. And then if you have more in receipts, it actually impacts your ability to levy the next year because it looks like you took in a lot more receipts and you've got carryover. So in my head, this is a mess I've never dealt with before, so I had to ask some questions. The special building fund is a fund that we've got the money set aside in there for our lease purchase payments, and we're levying a small amount in there, $250,000 in there this year. So that's got roughly $1 million in that we'll know when the AFR comes out, like to access. And there this year, Bryce said that you can pay for the boards out of there. You can also deposit the funds in there that you take in. That's the best place to do that. Some you might run through foundations and things like that, but the problem is you have to have about a third of the purchase price, or a little bit more than a third, but less than half of the purchase price down before you can even order the boards. So that makes it kind of tricky. Like you're going to have to spend funds from somewhere that you intend to replace pretty quickly with donations. So you're not actually, you might initially look like you're spending tax dollars on this, but you're going to replace them with donations. So you are what you want. So I will probably talk with our auditors after we're finished with the audit about that too, just to make sure that's clean. But that was Bryce Wilson's recommendation. That budget is spent, you build that budget every year to spend every penny that you have in there. And then if you have reserves of carryover, that's great. So that's not going to impact what we published and what we said that we were planning to spend out of the special building fund. It should not impact our ability in any way, shape, or form to make our lease purchase payments because we've got plenty in there for that. So funding for this would flow through basically the special building fund. You would pay for it out of that, but you would push donations back into that. So from that logistical standpoint, which is where all of my questions came, like, we're talking about this after I build a budget and I didn't build this into the budget, and what the heck am I gonna do? Which was like, kind of like a wet blanket. Let's call me the wet blanket of the situation, just trying to foresee the things that could potentially happen with the budget as that comes forward. And so I want to get some clarification also on the policy that we looked at that says anything over $100,000 or as adjusted would need to be advertised. We do have 3 bids, or we have a bid for 1 board, we have a bid for 2 boards, and then we have a 3rd bid from a different company for a different product. That was probably not quite what we're looking at. So we do have 3 bids. I just want to make sure that the legal way to do that is to,
Sure.
if we have to advertise.
Yeah, we may need to
that
advertise it.
Right. So the thing moving forward with this, the great thing about this, and Mr. Shade's gonna start jumping in here too, is that Daktronics has got boards all over the world. right? And so the software that they use to run the board in Memorial Stadium or at the, wherever they play football in Dallas, like where the Cowboys play, that software will be the same software that's running our digital scoreboard. So our students are getting a unique educational opportunity and going with this, learning how to run their software that they can step in and run any board that Aptonics has built. And they have educational programs to guide teachers how to get them there. Mr. Parsons, right now, he might not need, he might just sit down and start playing. But Mr. Shada, we'll let you dive into because this is kind of your baby. Your infant, it's going into a toddler.
Yeah, we get really excited. If you don't mind looking at page 6, these are our students. They're broadcasting the state basketball tournament last year. One of them was a graduate who are still with us here. So here's the great thing about Daktronics. It's called Daktronics University. So Dr. Lewis talked about why we are focused on them opposed to a Score Vision, which is cheaper except for the fact they charge you $6,000 a year annually to have the boards, which then starts to happen in a hurry, right? And so with Daktronics, they're going to teach you not only, they have the educational program, so they're going to work with your, with Mr. Parson and his group of students to continue to show them how to put these products together, how to help build all the background things that we need to help promote these when companies donate this large amount of money. And then two, they work with our kids that they can be prepared if they choose to go into this. So here's a great example, that Husker Volleyball Day that was, the biggest in the world, right? Do you know who ran that board? The big board there? One of your graduates. One of our kids ran the board that day for those volleyball matches. That's pretty cool.
It is.
And so, you will now take our students who are having this experience with our fantastic teachers, and then you're also putting them this technology in their hands. So they are now producing products that are life skills, paying life skills if they choose to. And so that's why this company, though it's a little pricier, it's also a good brand to go with. And so probably the part that kind of maybe the geeks out the word that drives me here is that our kids are going to get to use real life things. We're continuing to find places for them to get these skills to be in the real world, and they can do it right here, promoting their classmates, promoting what they're doing, and then building these products in there. And I guess the last piece on those things is, Dr. Lewis said, what overwhelms me, a lot of times our students are like, yeah, no shit, I could do that in 20 minutes. No big deal. Oh my gosh, that took me hours, and so they're really good. Ben is the contact. He has an assistant named Cooper out of, they're out of Omaha, but their home base obviously is Brookings, is where Daktronics is at. And so they work with your classes. They'll do different video chats to help get them started and connected, and they're always available to do those pieces. The other piece that is on there, if you look at turn the page 8 there, each video board would have, there's a fixed scoreboard on the bottom and then the video board on top. Why the fixed scoreboard on the bottom? Just for logistics. We also have practices in there, and so we need to be able to operate what we do currently, where you need to know time and things like that. And so that board, without turning on the big board, that our coaches can use to just run practice functionally. So that's a big piece to that as well. And then you see the anchor sponsorships on there. I feel pretty confident that out of the 6 of the 8 anchors that we have, or out of the 8 anchors, we have 6 people looking really, really hard at that right now, that we could have some real firm action in the next few weeks if this board allows that to kind of go through. And so
You sell all 8 or all 12, we're gonna sell 12 of them?
we said 8 total, sorry.
Okay,
Yep,
we sell
4
8 of them.
yeah.
Is it 5,000 per year or 5,000 for a,
Per year for 5 years.
okay,
So like 25,000, yeah.
Yes,
I call it
okay.
like the 5 for 5 plan. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. It's-
So that's $200,000. We get those
Right
8
there.
sold, we're approximately 2/3 of the way there.
Mhm,
Years, yeah.
mhm.
Outside of these funding options, I'm guessing there's probably gonna be 1-year options as well.
For a
Mhm.
one-time donation.
Or what, yeah,
Yeah, and
at
so,
any time you can always donate, or if a family wants to donate, they can do that as well.
and so these are kind of the, we work hard with Daktronics to kind of like what works well. Over half our conference schools have a board similar to this or to that point. And so they've kind of guided us, like, here's what has been more efficient with what you're doing. And you're right, Cassie, we would take, right now we're gonna fundraise it all, like you guys said, so we would take any donation at any time. So, and find a way to promote those people.
Are we looking at one board or two boards?
We're looking at 2 boards,
Of the same size or different sizes?
same size.
And then the court.
So you can see that picture, there's the one with the eagle, which, and then they would flip flop to the opposite, closer to that visitor side, like, there's the stands.
So what happens with the boards that we currently have? They're not that old, correct?
Good question.
So would we sell those?
Go ahead, Shannon.
We're gonna move them over to the other gym.
Okay, and then the ones
We
that
run basketball tournaments in there, we're missing some
lots of
information.
good information, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
so like.
you know time and score on these, that's about it, you don't know anything else.
Time and score, that's how.
You could have
Yeah.
your 6th foul, and not know it, yes.
Yeah. So then what about the other boards?
Good question. So Daktronics we've worked with before, and there's nothing signed. The old scoreboard that you guys replaced on Graceville, we donated, because it was older than lots of folks sitting here. But a lot of times you can maybe repurpose those, or they will help sell them for you. American Lifted Sign will do that. They work across the country to different places. So that's just a process of getting some money back. It won't be an
Yeah.
exorbitant amount.
No, but better to
You can have a
sell it
benefit
than to
auction with
give it
those if
away.
there's an alumni
Yes.
that would like to have it hanging in their shop, maybe, you know?
I think my shop's
Um,
full, but I know somebody else that has a big
And
shop.
put that money towards this project.
Yeah,
There's,
yeah, for sure.
we've talked about some fundraising ideas, you know, maybe an event in the gym after they're up, with live auction items or something that we could fundraise to this. You know, my biggest point for the board and for all the board members is, you know, when I first looked at this, I was assumed it was out of reach for us. But, you know, Jason and Brian, and I mean, we all know a lot of people in the community that we can ask for help, and they've been, you know, willing to help. As we move forward with this, you know, we just have to all keep in mind that, the energy and enthusiasm that we have for this project right now needs to maintain until it's paid for. And we don't, you know, and Chase brought up a good point. I was talking to Chase on the phone today, and he said, you know, so this is a 5-year deal, so we're obviously making decisions for future board members as well. You know, and we need to keep that in mind too, that there's a mechanism in place to ensure that, we collect on these 5-year contracts through year 2, 3, 4, and 5, and that, you know, because, it's easy to spend money, it's a little harder to collect it sometimes. But I think it's an incredible thing for our kids. I think that, you know, obviously they're deserving of it. And what I think is really cool is how well, I mean, I think our Strive program sets, I mean, I think we are aces there, and I think this rolls right into that and would be a really big opportunity for those kids that, I mean, I did not know that. How cool is that? One of our
I learned that
graduates
recently, yeah.
ran the board at the Volleyball Across America event, the largest women's sporting event
In the world.
in the world, yeah. So that's really neat. So what, I think what we gotta consider where this conversation goes tonight is when are we comfortable making the decision that, yeah, we wanna move forward with this, and we're gonna go ahead and commit the funds to do it? Because we have enough confidence that, and we can work hard enough to get these sponsors gathered up to secure this money. And how does that look? How do we count, you know, you've had conversations, I've had conversations with businesses that say, yeah, we're in, okay, so, you know, do we need a contract signed? What do we need before we say, all right, this money is secure, we've got X dollars from this person, X dollars from that. I feel a little uncomfortable just telling the board, XYZ business is gonna be a corporate sponsor, they'll donate 25 grand, and then we go by the board and we go back in there and the guy doesn't work here anymore, or whatever, you know? So, but we all have pretty strong relationships with these businesses too, so, you know, what does everybody think? I mean,
Mr. Shea, is there a school that has this exact system that we're looking at? I know Matt talked about a couple districts that have similar, but I was curious if they had the exact system we're looking at to view.
In conference, Fort Calhoun, DC West, Syracuse, Rankin Central, Springfield, Platteview, no, they conference was right there, yeah. So that's 5 of the 9 right now. The other ones are putting them up are the next 4 that are right there. So yeah. That's just in conference. In the area, Springfield, Flatview, Blair's got 2, Blair's got 3. They got like a football stadium.
I think Valley's putting one on their football.
They're putting a brand new one up there.
Other football uses this on there.
The different, and there's an outdoor gym. North Bend bought 3 this year. They put in their gym, their softball field, and their football field.
I was just trying to think of, some of us who haven't seen the actual boards, we've seen a lot of older boards, when we played, to see what it looks like, in person, I think we just kind of, maybe some of us haven't seen it.
I really think that they're pretty, I mean, I think you can go to any high school and you're gonna see.
Class B or above for sure,
Right,
yeah.
we're one of the few that doesn't. When we go, just about any. And then if they don't have 2, they at least have 1.
In Raymond Central, they have a big one and a little one.
Yes.
And I think
UTAN has the
we were
same.
talking and
UTAN has the
and as soon as we went in, I looked at the little one and I never looked back at it. I always looked at the big one. Just never looked at the little one.
So
And I don't know how
I
big the little one is.
did ask a question during our buildings and grounds meeting that what happens if we fall short of our fundraising goals? Did you get more information about that? Like if
Yeah, I know this school would be
should start-
responsible, yeah,
Yes, just,
yeah, it would be responsible to, we have the money in the special building to do that, and you can continue to go out for those.
right,
Maybe somebody would want to join the next
Later.
year and do a commitment, maybe we say it's not a good year now, come back next year, and then you have a different contract for them that is 24 through 9 instead, or something like that, but,
so that's something to consider also.
Yeah.
You'd be on the hook. I mean, I'm not saying that we're gonna fall short, but.
Right.
You have to think of that possibility, right? Yeah.
And I mean, I would be okay with if we only got halfway to do one now. And then keep going and then like, put the second one up next year. I don't know, I'm just,
I think we need to set a date to get, okay, we want to have X funding by this point so we can order. I think we need to set that so that we're first off being responsible for our district spending,
Mhm.
but we're also making action. We can sit here and talk about all sorts of stuff, but if we don't set dates and figure out this is what we want to do, nothing's ever going to happen.
good call. I think in the next month, we should get some more answers. Because for a lot of these people, like, we just had our meeting, whether it was a bank or whatever, it's like, oh, we just had our meeting the other day and we don't want to get, the answer to you real quick.
Well, and it's getting to year-end stuff too, and
Right,
some
yeah.
people need
Let's
to,
make
I need to
this
spend this before the beginning of next year. So I think I would agree. I think that we need to get it rolling sooner than later. And if we're gonna be asking people if they're willing to donate, we need to have something to say, yes, okay, here's where you sign.
Right.
Because coming back and forth is not, it makes you look, first off, unprofessional, right? You don't have your stuff together.
So we have
So Mr.
6
Shaken and I
of
put
the 8
together.
people that we talked that I think are real strong candidates have in their hands this prospectus that you have, and they have contracts that Daktronics helps sign up with.
That's what's in good work, because I sent it out today.
Yep, and so they have, those people have contracts that spell out, what we're looking at, what we're doing here on page 9, 5 years, 5,000, 2,500, 1,000, and where they put their company on there. So that's the beauty of signing up with these guys. It's not me drawing one in the dirt. It's obviously that we have contracts that would go through, that Dr. Lewis helped me put together that we're, all lock and step. I don't disagree with the point of it. The professional side is
Yeah.
nice that helps us.
They have it.
Yeah, so we're not
Yeah.
just word of mouth, a handshake, which is important,
Yeah.
but you also need to finalize the deal.
So, Mr. Shada, let's work this calendar backwards a little bit, because I know we tossed around a couple of potential targets to have this, the first thing thrown out was, by the first basketball game, right? Well, that's coming.
Not gonna happen.
Not gonna happen. Installing this over Christmas break was kind of the second one that we looked at. And then, there's maybe a possibility we'll be, district host this year for basketball later on.
That, it could work out that way, yeah.
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 And then, of course, graduation would be the,
Yeah.
the furthest out. And the lead time on when we tell them this is what we want and send them a deposit, how far away are we from being able to install?
So if we wanna have the boards up by January 1, we need to make a decision tonight. If we want them, then you just work a month off of that. So if we make a decision next month, we're looking at February, The nice thing is, all the stuff's coming out of Brookings, South Dakota, so we're not getting it from, somewhere far. So that's there. You just, we back off a month from each time frame there. So that's obviously what decision you guys are.
Yeah.
If I can chime in here, I think to not hold things up, it would be nice this evening to have a motion to authorize me to advertise as legally required in case I find out tomorrow morning from Bryce Wilson, like, yeah, you gotta advertise that. And then we would go through the process of looking at all of the bids at the November board meeting and being able to make a decision. So I think the soonest you can go to
Yeah.
your November board meeting.
I think
Let's
that
have a
that's
special
tonight to be a little, yeah, and I think that's a really good point. That would get our house in order for, November.
Now, when would districts meet? Roughly? In this
February, yeah. February.
The end of February. No, it's
The
late.
12th is gonna be the first day.
And board members I'm driving around the other day, just running this through my gears, and I found two businesses that, we've been talking about this for 4 days and it just blew right past me. Casey's, TSC, all these places we need to get in front of, like a Valmont and some bigger ones like that. If you have any ideas, throw them out there, via emails for us, and, or get a copy of this and take in there and we all work this thing, it's gonna happen pretty quickly, I think. I don't know a lot of people in the funeral world, but I know somebody.
Well,
that
we
does.
have, super funny, yeah. It's hard to, as a funeral,
Yeah.
advertise at a school. It's just awkward. So, and
Okay.
your science
Yeah.
center, yeah, sure, but
Yeah.
dribble on in, prearranged, no. I'm just kidding.
So, okay,
Yeah.
so let's say this. Need to
Type what she said.
Okay, please, yeah.
I just,
You wanna read it
I
back?
have a motion to allow the superintendent to advertise as legally required for school board sales.
So moved.
Second,
Thank you, Cassie. All right, let's vote.
Chase Craddock,
Yes.
Brian Locker,
Yes.
Matt O'Daniel,
Yes.
Shannon Womack, Jason Earp,
Yes.
Cassie Fossil.
yes.
All right, very good. Motion carries. Dawn, thanks for,
And I will keep you posted on that. If
Yeah.
Bryce says, hey, this is something different than that, you don't need to legal advertise, then in November, we can go ahead and take action on what you've got. If we do, we'll advertise it. Doesn't have to be like statewide or anything like that, probably locally, probably in that enterprise.
Can I ask a question? I'd like to ask
Please.
a question, good. You talked about having a dollar amount, like, people committed to in a contract. What is that dollar amount, folks?
You mean for one-time donation? What are you talking
Would you like to break it down, so you wanna do like a gold, silver, bronze, like
Oh,
thing?
I already-
No, we already.
I got.
yeah, so yeah,
Well, yeah, but that's for
Use
larger donations, I'm thinking like if someone wants to give you $100, those $100 add up pretty darn quick.
Yeah.
And that's something that your local families that have kids that are, oh, my kid's a freshman, I wanna donate for this, and then we have our name on the board, but on
Oh,
spinning through whatever it is. That's gonna mean something to those families that their kids are gonna be in the gym,
Mhm.
that's the stuff we can capitalize on too.
So how was it those boards that are in the gym, that there's like name tiles that people donated, what does that break out? Like, if we follow the same?
Isn't that for the booster club? Is that the ones you're talking about on the wall?
Yeah, I just like, you know,
They
if
did
you
the buy your
donated,
seat
you got the
campaign,
little
which is
like,
right
yeah,
before I got here, yeah.
those were probably smaller amounts, right?
Mhm, mhm.
So I
And then
wonder how that was tiered.
I think it was from 1,000 on down, to be honest with
What
you.
was it?
I think I think that's a,
Like
More
1,000
feasible.
to 750.
Yeah.
Whatever, like
Mhm.
tiered like that.
Yeah, I mean, once again, folks, if you did what buying you're buying,
Yeah.
whereas you then just go create, you know what I mean, like, you can, it's not permanent that way.
I think $250 increments down from 1,000 to make it more accessible for our local community to get involved is a good place to start.
For a one-time donation, yeah.
Yep. That's great. Does that answer your question?
Kind of.
I think
I'm
he was
just,
asking what your number
What
was,
was-
to say like, okay,
we got
we've
the
raised
commitment
X
from the
amount of
community.
dollars.
Yeah,
Okay.
Now we want to move forward.
Okay, well, that was not what we talked about, okay.
I understood it the way you wanted.
We don't, what's not in here is what's the bid for this,
268,000.
for building?
One would be 180.
So once you start to do the math, so you get those anchors going, you're all in, see what I'm gonna
yeah,
If you did 8 acres, that is a commitment of $200,000 over 5 years.
Mhm.
So
What does he get at half?
it's a little less than half.
What we need.
It was like
is-
111.
Sorry, change my mind. For parts and things like that from Daktronics, you need $111,733.
To get it.
it's unreal.
To get the parts ordered.
So that's roughly 5 big sponsors.
So would we,
We better remember.
so are we wanting to have?
Oh, right, yeah.
Are we wanting to have that first payment that would be required for the ordering? Are we wanting to have that before we say we're gonna order this? Or would,
We need to have commitments for sure.
yes, so we need to have those commitments of 112,000 by November to move forward with this.
And then you're still.
And then we still have to keep going, yeah.
Yeah.
So just for that first payment, we need to have at least 112,000 of those. We need to step back and look at it for later.
And you guys feel pretty good about that, based on the people you talked to?
A lot of good conversations, you know, here's what we're thinking $5,000 for 5 years, which will be 25, okay, yeah. Keep talking, you know, we're interested, or I gotta go, the board of directors has already met this month, we meet next month, I'll make sure this gets brought up. Yeah, you know, we've got one locked up for sure. And, I've got a meeting tomorrow that looks really good. Jason's got a few, you know,
Sent the contract thing out, because they need to run it past their board.
yeah,
And we got a couple, that we all talked to, that should be getting back to us, we'll follow up, you know. We sent stuff out to the day last week.
yeah, I think we'll come back in November and we'll have that easily, commitments for that.
That wasn't like, hello, did I lose you?
Yeah,
They still were there, so.
yeah.
Good.
So it's exciting.
Yeah.
Dr. Lewis, as this thing grows and develops and the board comes up with ideas, there's no issues with open meeting laws if we're sharing, company names, commitments, things like that in our group email, is there? I mean, we're not taking action, we're not,
We're not taking
Committing any
action, but
money,
you
we're not-
shouldn't be, you shouldn't really even be discussing, like, if we start exchanging, reply all, reply all, reply all.
Okay.
That's where we get into trouble. I can push information out to you, you can send individual information to Matt can share that with me, but we can't have a group email going
Right.
circulating.
okay,
Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Reply
So
all
if
is
we
out,
reply,
because then you're
you just
discussing
reply
and you're
to
not,
the person who sent us the information.
yeah.
So we need to be replying to either Dawn or me.
I would say if you've got something to talk about at a dinner, send it to Matt or send it to me or send it to the two of us. And then at the end of the week, I can say, I can send to all.
This is an update of who has
Yes.
been contacted.
This is
So
an
we don't
update
really
who's
want to be
been
contacting the same people, because then it looks like we're
Right.
not communicating.
Yeah. But we can't have a
Yeah.
big group exchange of information, or yes, we would be violating information for the open meetings act.
So as we contact these, we need to, all this has got to funnel to one person, Mr. Shada. I
Let's
think,
You gotta check your email,
That
sir.
includes
No.
text too.
I think we need to start a shared
Text from the
Google Doc
same
or a spreadsheet so
line
we
as
can put
email.
on there, what
Yeah,
businesses
those
we
would
have
be perfect.
brainstormed
Yep.
and who's
Okay.
gonna make that initial contact. Mr. Shada and I will develop a Google form that we can access tomorrow, so we can keep track of
Great.
that without having to, be on the phone with each
yeah,
other.
because we're saying the
24/7.
world is to approach the same business twice.
Right.
Okay. Exciting stuff. Very, very fun.
We have one more item.
It's exciting.
Points is very exciting also.
Yeah,
Point
it
6,
is.
we're gonna talk about ceiling tiles.
We are,
We should have ended with the scoreboards.
I know, I thought about that. I thought about changing, making a suggestion to change that right before we started talking about it, but since we were there, we just let it go. So, ceiling tiles in the kitchen, per the health inspector, said they have to be changed. We currently have porous ones like that in the kitchen. They said that's no bueno. We need to have the non-porous ones that you can clean. You can, they're kind of a vinyl finish instead of this. It doesn't absorb grease. It's not a fire hazard and things like that. So, this is the estimate to get those ordered. It's to remove and to install and to order the stock now and have it. So we'll probably do the work if it's able over Christmas. We're trying to avoid that though. They might actually get installed over the summer, because once you start pulling down ceiling tiles in a kitchen that have been there for a long time, it could be very dirty and messy, and it would be maybe hard to do that over Christmas. Anyway, so this is to avoid prices going up. This is all inclusive, so the bid there is $29,189. This will be paid for out of the excess reserves in the hot lunch fund still. We're getting close with this purchase of these to the allowable reserves that they want us to have, which will also make the auditors and the Department of Education hot lunch program really happy with us. So, but this is a required thing, so we're gonna have to do this one way or the other.
So this is coming out of the hot lunch fund, that's funds that have to be used, so it doesn't, I'm gonna say it doesn't matter what the price
It
is,
is,
but.
yeah, I mean, this is what they cost. And this is Faust, who, really was transparent and, you know, he could have, you know, from what Lawrence and I know about the work that he did in there, he could have billed us his full estimate price, what he did in the dry storage and the retail, and he did not. It's like, it didn't cost me that much, and so he passed that on in savings. So we trust him, and he'll get these in stock and have them stored and ready to go, so when summer rolls around, he can get that work done for us.
I'll make a motion to purchase ceiling tiles for the kitchen for $29,180 to pay out of hot lunch excess reserve fund.
Motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Shannon and Chair. Let's vote.
Brian Locker,
Yes.
Matt O'Daniel,
Yes.
Shannon Wilmot, Chief Snurk,
Yes.
Cassie Blessman,
Yes.
Chief Scrub.
Yes.
All right, very good. That's the final item of business on our agenda this evening. There is no executive session. So we can adjourn at 8:59.